Okay, so good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock and we are starting right away. So thank you guys for joining. In the chat area, just tell us where you're joining from. Welcome, 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 everybody. So this is Grant Writing Mastery, and this is the Onboarding workshop. So I've been sharing a lot of information about the workshop in the last couple of weeks. And I mentioned I was going to do a live onboarding workshop so that we all get to learn the basics, the fundamentals of writing funding proposals for nonprofits, and also more details on the structure of the 5 weeks grant writing mastery program. So if you're joining me live here on Zoom, I'm also streaming on my Instagram page, so people can also get the replay. So let me know where you're joining from in the chat area. Fumi is joining from Lagos. Hello, Fumi. Joshua from Ondo. Sharon from the UK. Comfort from Jos. KG from Jos. Mandera from Kenya. Horn of Africa Regional Development Action. So tell us your organization, what you do, what programs are you currently running? So I can see Ruth from Abuja. Okay, KG organization is Clear Aid Foundation. All right. So we have a couple of participants in here in the Zoom room tonight, and a couple of ground rules. So the quality of the recording is good and people can get the most out of it when people are watching the replay. Ensure your mic is muted. Ensure your mic is muted. If you want your cameras on, you can go ahead and do that. Ensure your mic is muted, okay? I know it's quite late in the evening and we may have, a couple of conversations going on in the background. So ensure that your mic is muted. And thank you, everybody. So we'll get right into the business for tonight. So we're all here because we're interested in the conversation of writing proposals. We want to be able to access grant funding, $10,000, $100,000 for the work that we do through our nonprofits. And I always say that the money is in the proposal. That's where the money comes from. But the question is, how do we put together, you as a nonprofit leader, how can you put together a compelling enough grant proposals that would get you funded, that will give you access to the money that you need for the programs you run? So ensure your mic is muted, just joining in, so that we have clarity and we don't have background conversations interfering with the workshop tonight. So we'll be on for about an hour. This is an hour training, and then we'll get details of the 5 weeks grant writing program starting from July 1. So to let you know that you are in the right place, so this is kind of the profile of the people that are expected to be in this conversation this evening. So you are a nonprofit leader, you have a nonprofit organization. This could be an NGO, it could be a social enterprise, an impact organization, but it's a nonprofit in the sense that you're not doing this in order to declare or share profits at the end of the year, but it's purely for social good. All the revenue that you're generating goes back into funding programs and services for the target populations that you serve. So you're a nonprofit. You've been hearing about grant funding and how grant funding can really help the work you do, but you do not know how to apply for grants, or you have tried applying for grants a couple of times and your applications were not successful. It's been a difficult and been a challenge for you writing proposals, or you have not even written proposal before, but you want to get started so you can access the funding opportunities that are available for the work that you do in your nonprofit. So you desire to grow your nonprofit through grants, because grants are actually substantial amounts of funding that can really help your programs. So you've been hearing about these opportunities, but accessing them has been a challenge. So these are the profile of the people that we are interacting with this evening. So welcome, welcome. For those of you that were meeting for the very first time, My name is Ruki, which is a short form for Rukewel Yechesiri. And the work I do through Strategic Outcomes Consulting is to help nonprofits build the capacity. These are purpose-driven organizations, nonprofits, especially social enterprises and NGOs, helping you build the capacity to be able to access grant funding. And then ensuring that your organization is funding ready, you have all the structures, you have all the systems in place that ensures that you are able to demonstrate your capacity to funders, demonstrate the value of the programs you run so that you can access funding for your work. In the last 3 years, we've helped my clients access over $1 million in grants through their proposals, through their strategic plans, and all of the documentations that we've been able to help them come up with. So 1 minute, please. I need to attend to my daughter. She just woke up. Okay, sorry guys, I had to attend to my daughter. She woke up abruptly. Okay, so in the last 3 years from our work, we've been able to access over $1 million in grants for the organizations we've worked with. And these are organizations that are working around the SDGs. So I know that all of us here this evening, whatever programs you run, whatever service you're offering through your organization, you are actually contributing to the Sustainable Development Goals, because that is what actually makes you relevant, or that is what positions you to be able to access funding. It's all about the global goals. It's all about the agenda that stakeholders globally are concerned and interested in. So for our work, these are some of the people, these are some of the success stories that we have experienced since the last 3 years, since I started Strategic. And Joy's particular case study is an interesting one because she was a part of the very first Grantwriting mastery course. And it was really very interesting getting her feedback to see that she got her first ever grant proposal. So the thing about grants is when you are able to get the first one, as you continue writing, it becomes easier. As you continue to explore the opportunities that are out there, as you continue to write the applications and improve on it as you go on, it becomes easier. And then accessing these opportunities will begin to happen for your organization. Getting the first grant is always the most difficult. But her story was really very inspiring, and I'm just sharing it so that we can understand that when you put in the work into the right things, it's not about being busy, doing things, writing applications, and then you are not improving on the quality of the document that you are sending out. So when you write quality applications over and over again, ensure that you're doing the right things, which I'm going to be sharing with us this evening, the principles, the thought process that goes on behind writing quality proposals that will get you things you need to pay attention to, the things you need to take seriously. That's what we'll be looking at tonight, the very basics, the fundamentals, because sometimes when we lose track of the fundamentals, we begin to focus on things that don't matter. and then we lose out on opportunities. So those fundamental things that we need to take critically serious in our organization, in the way we approach the grant process, is what we would be looking at tonight. So also there are a couple of more people that their stories are here. Donald was from 2021, got his $100,000 for a project that was focused on persons living with disabilities, people living with disabilities in Abuja. And so we also have Onika, I think she should be here tonight, also $100,000 TT dollars. TT dollars is Trinidad and Tobago, because that's where the organization is, Women of Substance Tobago. They got $100,000 from Digicel, and more recently, 2 weeks ago, $30,000 from UN Women. So all of these things is to show us that people are getting grants. Grants are opening on a weekly basis. New opportunities are coming up because funders are interested in solutions. Funders are putting money into delivering programs, services, and solutions that will make life and the living conditions of people generally be more meaningful. But you need to ensure that whatever program or whatever project idea that you are proposing is relevant and is very valuable, because that's where the problem is. It's not that you're not doing something valuable as a nonprofit, but the way you communicate your project, the way you communicate the work you're doing through your applications and through your proposal is what makes all the difference, not really you as a person. So I always share that we all are looking for money to implement our projects. We're all looking for money. That's why the conversation of grant funding is really very interesting. And, you know, it's an intensive conversation every time we get nonprofits together. Any workshop at all that is being organized within the sector, and people are saying, okay, what are the challenges you face as a nonprofit leader? 100% or 98% of the time is funding, grants. How can we access grants for the work we do? But here is what I want you to reflect on as a nonprofit leader. Thinking through the work you do, thinking through the way you design the projects, the way you design the programs, the way you design the services that you're offering, that you really want grants for. You need to review it and reflect on it to ensure that you are really giving the best possible value from the work you're doing, more or less being resourceful. So grant proposal writing is a communication process. It's just a channel, the application or the proposal document that you're sending to a funder is just a means of conversation or communication, telling your prospective funder about a specific problem that you are addressing. Now, the focus of the work that we're going to be doing tonight, and also during the 5 weeks coaching program, is we're coming from this perspective of you responding to a call for proposal. So you may have seen a call for proposal somewhere, or a document, you're in a WhatsApp group, because a lot of us, I mean, everybody here should be in one WhatsApp group or the other. You are in a WhatsApp group and you see a call for application from UN Women or from ACT Foundation or whatever funder. So you see these documents week in, week out. These are call for proposal, calling for you to bring in your ideas, to pitch your ideas, probably through a template, or they're asking for a video or a document not more than 5 pages or whatever channel. But the proposal writing process is about you communicating to the funder. So you may not have the opportunity of being physically present or to have a face-to-face conversation with the person that has the money, which is the donor or the funder. But so that application, that document, your proposal, is just your channel for you to share your ideas, share the work you want to do to this funder in order to get money to implement that idea. So look at it that the process of writing proposal, the application, is about solving problems. So you may hear me say it over and over again, that you must focus on the problem you are solving. You must be clear about the solutions that you're bringing that you are asking for money for. People don't just give you money. Funders or donors will not just give you money because you have a nonprofit or because you think you have a mission that is inspiring. It's not about that. It's about the problem you are solving. So look at the proposal writing process, whether you are writing restricted or you are looking for unrestricted funding, whatever it is. The proposal writing process is about solutions, is about problem solving. And so you must begin to approach it that way. So in that document, in the application form or in the proposal, what you are doing at that point is that you are telling the funder the problem you are solving, why you are solving that problem. You can see it on the screen for those of you that are here on Zoom. You can see it on my screen clearly. These bullet points are just like thinking pathways through which you begin to think through how you are putting your ideas together in your proposal. But the foundation of what you are doing is you are providing a solution to a problem. It's not a nice idea. Oh, we have this nice idea that if we get women together and teach them how to use social media for their business, then it's a good thing. What problem does that really solve? Yes, it will be nice, but if you cannot connect it back to a very critical problem and discuss that problem in detail, your proposal is not going anywhere. So whatever idea you think you're looking for money from, it must begin to answer critical questions. And that is what the funder's proposal template or the application form does. So when you look at a traditional application form, you see that there are questions. The funder is asking you, what are the outcomes? Or give a brief profile of the population that this project is targeted at. It is these questions that they are looking at. What problem is this organization trying to solve? Why are they trying to solve the problem? How do they intend to solve this problem? What is the method? Or what is the unique model that they are bringing? What is the solution to the problem? Who are they solving it for? What do they really need to solve the problem? Or why do they really think they are best? Why should we choose ABC Foundation instead of XYZ Foundation? So these are critical questions that whatever you have written in that document must answer. So if you write a proposal or you fill in a grant application form and what you have written does not give clarity to what the problem actually is and why it is necessary for that problem to be solved for a particular population and how you are solving it, going further to explain why you are the best organization to solve that problem, you have not written a proposal. You have just discussed some nice ideas that you are just haggling around for donors to give you money for. So a lot of reasons why applications, grant proposals will fail is because there's no depth to the content. You have written nice English, you did literature review, gathered documents everywhere, you put it together, but these foundational questions that your document should be answering for the funder to give them clarity and to convince them that they should give you money has not been answered in that document. So think through it. This is a process of writing proposal. You're doing this because you have identified a problem. So most times when I have conversations with nonprofit leaders, like, okay, they want to join my coaching program or we're trying to figure out the best structure, coaching structure for them, I just ask, what problem are you solving? Because from the beginning, if you cannot tell me clearly that these are the solutions you're bringing in, these are the people you support, these are the specific problems you are solving, your proposal cannot get anywhere. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why it's quite challenging to identify these issues. So you have actually established a nonprofit out of passion. 100% out of the time, people set up nonprofit organizations for probably a personal issue, something personal that has happened to you, or maybe someone close to you. You have a family person that died of cancer, and then that inspired you to set up an organization, and then you're doing cancer awareness. So there's you have a personal experience, someone close to you, something happened to them, or maybe because of your academic background, the school you went to, the course you read, then you felt that, okay, I'm really passionate about this idea, the idea of quality education. So let's set up a nonprofit to work around education or work around the environment. These are just concepts, ideas you're talking about. You need to pin it down to clearly define issues that your organization will be addressing. If you're doing education, for instance, education is very broad. What specific issues with regards to education is your organization set up to address? That will be the foundation of your proposal. Are you working around policy? Maybe there are a lot of policies, and in your country, these policies are not being implemented to ensure that the quality of education is being improved. And so your nonprofit is strictly for advocacy, policy advocacy. You are becoming more clearer about the value that you are bringing to the society. It's not some vague thing where supporting women. Women empowerment is very vague and very broad. But a lot of proposals are like that, empowering women, empowering young people. With what exactly? That empowerment, what is it? What problem is it positioned to solve? So most of the times, why you are unable to fill any grant application form is because these foundational elements have not been put in place. If you struggle to respond to the questions in the form, what are your outcomes? What outputs are expected from this project? Or what's the profile of the population that you are serving? If you cannot answer these questions, how are you going to measure the outcomes of this project? If you're struggling to respond to those questions, that is because your strategy is still very broad. It's still very vague what you do. Proposal writing is about very specific solutions, addressing very specific problems. And this is what we'll be going in depth. Today, we're just going to be looking at the basics, the fundamental principles. In the 5 weeks, you have the opportunity to get your hands really dirty, doing all of the analysis and design for your programs. And so what do funders really want? When they put together a portfolio, funding portfolio, or put together an opportunity for you to apply for grants. I hope you all can hear me, because I'm receiving a couple of messages that they can't hear. Can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, just let me know in the chat area that you can hear me and the sound is clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So moving ahead, there's a specific way of thinking, mindset, or the way to view funding, the way to view assessing grants, especially through your applications. We're looking at grant funding through your applications. The things that you may have heard me say before, but I always want to say it over and over again so you understand it in depth and it becomes a part of your thinking and your conversation when you go around your work as a nonprofit leader. One of the things you have to understand is that you assessing funding is primarily of benefit to the funders. And I will explain why. The way you have a mission, you set up your organization, you have a mission, you want to support women or you want to support disadvantaged children. It is the same thing for any funder. So when a grant maker makes available $1 million, $5 million, one of the ones I saw for the US government was actually $1 billion. I know that, man, it's grant makers who apply for that particular amount of money. So when funders make available specific funding portfolio to support a thematic area, whether it's education, employment, livelihoods, whatever it is, they have an objective in mind or a couple of objectives in mind why they have established that funding or why they even exist in the first place. They have specific outcomes that they are seeking to create for specific populations or their target audience. An organization like AWDF, African Women Development Foundation, we all know that this is an organization that's interested in the economic development or empowerment of women, especially women who are disadvantaged, who are underprivileged. So all of the things they do, all of their programming and activities must sum up to ensuring that women are economically empowered, psychologically, emotionally, and all of that. So they have a specific objective. So when you are applying to that organization and they're seeing your proposal or your application, whatever it is, they are looking at it to say, how do we stand to benefit as a funder? What are we going to benefit? What is this applicant going to help us achieve? They're not dashing you money, giving you free money to go and do projects. That money or that funding that you're giving to you must flow back to contribute to impact for them, contribute to outcomes, to results for them. So you must look at it to say that how can the funder benefit from the work that you're going to do? Of what benefit is it? How is it going to help them advance their mission? How is it going to help them advance their objectives? And so the second perspective, the second shift you need to make in your mind is to be clear about the outcomes that will happen for your beneficiaries. So remember, I said that you're solving a problem through your proposal. You're solving a problem. You're discussing the problem in that application. You're discussing what the solution is and for what population this solution is relevant for. So what benefit or what value will the beneficiaries experience? And it is that value that you have to communicate clearly in your application or in your proposal document. So most times I see a lot of applications focusing heavily on, this is what we intend to do. We want to train people. We want to distribute this material, blah, 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 blah. And then it is not clear all of this distribution, all of these resources you want to give access to, the trainings you want to do, the seed grant that you want to make available, what would it make happen for this specific population at the end of the day? What is the higher level benefit? What are the higher level changes and results that will happen as a result of the work you are doing? All of you, you're doing something. You're already implementing activities, and you are looking to access grant funding to continue to expand the work you're doing. What you need to do in approaching your fundraising, especially through grants, exploring grant funding, it's about you articulating this higher level results, these outcomes. What would it be? Let's take, for instance, what we're doing here, the training, the coaching on proposal writing. This onboarding workshop is just an activity. The 5 weeks coaching program is an activity designed with clear outcomes that are intended for you. So it's not just about the training. It's not about the proposal toolkits and the materials that I'm giving you access to by the time you join the program, but it's about the capacity and the skill sets that you would develop. That's a first level outcome. And then going further, what would you be able to do with the skills that you're going to get from the coaching program, from the workshops, from the mentoring? You've developed proposal writing skills. You've developed more awareness and a deeper level of understanding of how the grant funding process and cycle works. But all of these, at the end of the day, contributes to your financial sustainability, your financial sufficiency to deliver programs to your target beneficiaries. That's what I have in mind. So, but most times, a lot of projects are flawed because you're just thinking at the activity level. By the time you are in the 5 weeks, you will get the tools that you need to be able to plot further. Okay, what's the whole essence of the project we're doing? You want to train farmers on improved technology for planting. You want to distribute fertilizer. To what end? So that they are able to improve production, or their agriculture becomes more productive, becomes more profitable for them, and also there is food sufficiency in that community, thereby ensuring food security. So all of these outcomes, you must piece them out. It's like an onion bulb. You must peel it out and discuss it in the application form. Because you sometimes, in the question, you may find the funder asking you in 500 words, explain the outcome, your expected outcome of the project. So what will you be saying in 500 words? 500 words, one and a half page. If you are typing 1.5 page, 500 words, depending on the font size that you're using to type. So what would you be discussing for 500? Sometimes it's 1,000 words or 2 pages. So if you have not clearly reflected on these areas of the project, if you have not properly designed it, so what will you be discussing in 500, 750, and 1,000 words to convince the funder that your project is relevant? Do you know how many applications that they receive every funding cycle? Thousands upon thousands of applications. Thousands of applications from very passionate nonprofits like you. Some they've been in existence for years, and the team members have all the qualifications, training, and capacity. So that's why you need to do your homework. Passion is good. You would have heard me say it over and over again. You're very passionate, good and fine. Clap for yourself. But the work needs to be done. So the work needs to match your passion and that emotional attachment you have to the work you have towards the work you do as a nonprofit. It's actually a business. A nonprofit organization is just a different legal structure of delivering services. There must be revenue inflow, there must be revenue outflow. The only difference between you and another company is that at the end of the year, you will not declare profits and then distribute dividend to your shareholders. That's just the only difference. So the effort that businesses put into marketing, that is the same effort you need to put into your proposals, refining your proposal, refining the quality of content that you're putting in your applications to convince funders to give you money. So you need to understand the benefits to the funder, know that the funder is looking for something, and so you must match it. You must match it with the content that you're bringing into that application. And then it's equally about the benefits for the target groups. So if you're supporting children, for instance, to ensure that they have improved access to healthcare or quality healthcare. So in detail, you need to break it down. What exactly are they going, what experiences or what new and improved circumstances would they experience by the time you create that access to healthcare? Are you reducing mortality rates among children under 5? What exactly are you doing? And then you need to explain this in detail. And so earlier I talked about how the foundation of your proposal writing and your application is about problem solving. So you need to begin to think not just as a passionate social impact leader, as a passionate social entrepreneur, or as someone who is passionate about a social cause, but you need to start thinking about problem solving. So sometimes I see nonprofits, especially on social media, we come out and then we're doing road work. We'll print t-shirts like I branded my own t-shirt. You brand your own t-shirt, ABC Foundation, brand face cards, banners and everything, and you're walking on the road, dancing, singing, that you are raising awareness about cancer. And I'm just wondering how that road walk or road show brings value to people living with cancer. You're just making noise. Except it's something, it's a part of, you're trying to bring people together to have a conversation so that they will take action for people living with cancer. So you spend 1 million naira to do a road walk and campaigns on social media, and then nothing has changed for people living with cancer. But in your organization, you and your volunteers, you have eaten jollof rice to do roadshow. Nobody will give you grants to do that kind of thing. But that is the same intervention that you're still putting together in grant applications. And you're wondering why you're not getting positive feedback. Because they cannot clearly see of what benefit is this roadshow, road walk, radio drama, and everything to the people living with this particular problem. So you need to begin to think your activities, how are they designed or put together to actually deliver solutions to your target audience? So by the time you think through your work, you will see that you eliminate a lot of activities that are not relevant. They are just a burden to you, financial burden, or they're just keeping activities going. But at the end of the day, it does not really deliver value to the population. And it will be a mistake for you to take that project the way it is and put it in a grant proposal. So there's a difference. I was sharing on Instagram, I think that was last week or so, that there's a difference between activities that you run just to say that, oh, we are still in existence as a nonprofit, though we don't have a grant yet. You're just running the activity to stay alive, that you have not gone under as a nonprofit, you're still there, ABC Foundation. There's a difference between those activities and the ones you put together to a funder to assess grants. It's two different set of activities. So that you're coming on, you're going, maybe you have a friend working in a radio station, and then you have the opportunity of going live on radio every week. And then you put that in a grant proposal to say that you want to do radio programs talking about a specific issue. It does not shift anything. So as we go on, we would begin to see clearly how we would approach the design of the programs that would actually get you funded. And then the fourth perspective I want us to look at in terms of shifting our focus to what really matters in our organization that positions you for funding is to adopt that learning mindset. So one of the things that really helped me in my journey when I was approaching proposal writing some 8 years ago was that every rejection was a learning process. And fortunately for us, then when we write proposals, most times, even if it's rejected, the funder would explain why they rejected that proposal. Either they will be telling you that they are not convinced that the way you have designed the project is sufficient enough to address the issue. Or they will tell you that your analysis, please, if your mic is open, please ensure you're muted. A couple of mics open here. And your background comes the first. I'll just take a minute to ensure everyone is muted. Okay, I think we have that sorted out already. So a couple of years ago, when a funder rejects your proposals, they will tell you in the rejection email why your proposal was rejected. Either they'll tell you your budget is not feasible, or you don't have the sufficient sustainability strategy, or they don't see how this project will really work for the population. They'll just give you an idea of why they rejected that proposal. And so every rejection was like, though you will feel bad, it hurts, but you need to detach yourself from that outcome to say, okay, what's the lesson to learn from this rejection? What's the lesson? So at that moment, the funder is just letting you know that you need to improve on the design. You need to improve on the design. There was a case like that where brainstorming in our team, and then I was just telling my teammates that this particular application template, the way that they are hammering on sustainability, we need to do something better with that aspect. The design is good, everything, output, everything explained, but I was not comfortable with the source. I felt it was insufficient. And I was just telling every other person that let's do something better in terms of what we are proposing as the sustainability strategy. They just wrote in it that, oh, we'll find more grants to continue the project. And I said, no, this would not work. But everybody insisted, oh, let's just submit, the deadline is closed. Behold, when the funder wrote back for the rejection email, it was, I'm sorry, we cannot proceed with this proposal because we are not convinced that your sustainability strategy will be effective. So try again next year. That's when they were now asking, okay, what do we do in terms of sustainability? So from the get-go, begin to think about these issues, these things, before you even approach the proposal writing or the application process. So it is learning when a rejection comes, and if you're privileged enough to get an explanation why your proposal or your application is being rejected, look at it and learn from it. So some of you that have been getting my emails, you would have gotten a particular email or a post, you must have seen it somewhere, where I talked about my first 98,000 pounds, because that was the first successful grant application after all the series of application. And then that was the successful one. And I had the privilege of getting feedback from that particular application, why they selected it. They even highlighted the gaps in the project design and what we should do to strengthen it before implementation. They liked the concept and it was approved by UK Aid. And so one of the things they mentioned, they said the problem analysis was in-depth. We supported it with a lot of research, even data from our interactions, our engagement with the community stakeholders. It also showed that we had local support and partnership for that particular project we're going to implement. But one of the gaps they mentioned is that there were some issues we discussed in the problem analysis where we're discussing about the issues we wanted to solve, because you know the first part of the proposal where you're giving a background or a summary of the population that you want to target with your project. So they highlighted that there were very critical issues we talked about in that analysis, but when we designed the project, they did not see key activities trying to address those issues. So although they liked it, they gave us the opportunity to go and redesign, include activities to address those issues, and then before we implement the project. That is a one-of-a-kind opportunity. You may not get that opportunity, that privilege to come back, put it again, and then we sign the contract. They must have seen something that they liked, but you may not have that opportunity. So why not from the beginning ensure that your application is well positioned to get you the funding? So these are the mindset shifts that you need to have when you are approaching the grant proposal writing process. And so what is it exactly that funders are really looking for when they make selections for the organizations that they want to give grants to? I shared this in the last workshop I held. We had a 2 days grant proposal writing workshop in April. I just decided to lift it and share with you all tonight to see, looking at the fundamentals and the foundations, these are 5 critical things that your proposal and your structure as an organization must answer. Because beyond the project proposal, beyond talking about your project, you're going to also demonstrate to the funder that we have the capacity as an applicant. We have the capacity, we have the expertise, we have the structure, you can trust us. It's actually a selling process. These are the 5 things that you need to look at. You must demonstrate to a funder to match what they need. The first thing is that your mission must be in alignment. For those of you that we've been together on this journey for a couple of years, I can see some of you in here this evening. Your mission, whatever you are doing, the broad cause that you're working on as a nonprofit must also align with that funder. If you are an organization working on environmental sustainability, you want to ensure environmental protection from the work you do, you have no business looking for funders that are working around child and maternal health. So your mission, you must ensure that the call for proposals that you're responding to, the call for applications that you have decided to respond to, you are in alignment, is in line with the work you're doing. There's common ground between you and the funder. Not that the funder is going to women empowerment, and you as an applicant, you are going to environmental protection. There must be that common ground between you and the funder to position your application properly. So I mentioned earlier when I was talking about benefits to funders that funders are looking for benefits because they have targets, they have milestones that they must meet in terms of the impact, the social impact work that they are driving. And so your proposal must be feeding into that. Your proposal must be feeding into it. If they want to pull 1 million women out of poverty in the next 3 years, then you are bringing a proposal that is talking about maybe men for an organization that is solely focused on women. There's no alignment. Even if the project is interesting, is working, it will work perfectly, it's a perfect solution. Because that alignment is not there, it will be rejected. So you must do your research properly as you're looking for funding opportunities to respond to. You're sifting through platforms like Funds for NGO to identify funding opportunities. You must do your research properly to ensure that you are responding to opportunities that you are a fit for. You're not wasting time and energy putting in applications for opportunities that you are not. So that mission alignment must take it seriously to ensure that you're getting the best out of the effort, because writing proposal takes a lot of effort, time, energy, mind space, research, money. So you don't want to be wasting your money doing things that don't matter. So ensure that that mission alignment is there. And also for the particular population that you're working with, you can show that your ideas are not based on speculation. And this is a big problem we have, because a lot of projects, we design it based on assumption, because we feel that, oh, we know what they need. So you have this assumption that I know what these women need. Is it not to bring them out of poverty? You know what they need. So you bring them together and you start teaching soap making. You start teaching small chops and catering and all of that. And at the end of the day, you'll not be able to pull them out of poverty. With all the skills that you have given them, they cannot fend for themselves. That is because you don't really understand that target population. You don't understand the peculiar issues that they are faced with, that they have to deal with. And so your project activity does not take into consideration those peculiarities, because you have designed it based on assumption. You assume that these children, what they need is to put them, just register them back in schools. And just maybe the problem in that community is that they don't have a culture that values education. Not that there's no infrastructure. So you go about building schools, putting desks, furnishing a school, and then children are not coming. That is because in that community, what is peculiar to them is not infrastructure. It's actually a cultural problem. It's a value problem. Because in their culture, school does not matter. It's not school is the popular parlance of school na scam. They don't value education. So what they value is go and learn a skill or go and learn a trade. So you spend a lot of money to provide social infrastructure and children are not still going to school. It's because you speculated, you just assumed that what they need in that community is a school. And so you write the proposal and the funder knows that they don't need a school in that community. So whatever you're putting together in your application, in that proposal, whatever project you're coming up with, it must be based on evidence. So for some time, I was just doing, you just see me pop up in the Facebook group to ask questions, because I really want to understand what's going on in the mind of non-profit leaders. How best should we structure these offerings to ensure that we're able to achieve these results? I've tried coaching, I've tried courses, I've tried workshops and all of that. And all of these things I do is to gather data and to say, okay, so what is working? What is the best way to solve this problem? And that is the same thing for you as a non-profit leader. You ask questions to, I'm sharing this because I've had the opportunity of doing a lot of research during my program days. So we do a lot of community, a lot of baseline studies, a lot of community engagements, a lot of rapid surveys, Facebook, sorry, I said Facebook, focus group discussions and all of that. And so we hear very peculiar and unique perspectives from the communities we're working with, which helps project design and then execution when the project gets approved. And so you do not assume what people need. You don't just make up an assumption in your proposal, because what you have written, whoever is evaluating it or assessing it would see that these people just design the project in their office. There's no relationship between you as the applicant and the community that you're even saying you want to implement this project. You've not even gone there before. So your project that you're proposing in that application, you must show evidence that you have engaged with the population. You must show evidence that you understand the problem. You understand the peculiar issues. And remember that when I'm saying community, the community may not necessarily be a physical, maybe a local community, a rural community somewhere. It may just be somewhere. It may just be a community of people. Oh my God, I can hear myself in the background. So it may just be a collection of people with similar challenges or problems, but they are scattered in different locations. So especially for organizations where you're working around digital technology or you're using digital technology for your program offerings. And so you have participants that are scattered across the country, but they all have something in common. It's also a community. They may not be in a specific geographical location, but this community of people with these shared attributes, with these shared challenges that you are solving, that you are addressing, you must understand the issues. You must understand their peculiar needs, not that you are assuming. You just assume that, oh, women that who are survivors of domestic violence, all they need is, let's open businesses for them. And then you start giving them money to set up businesses. And after 3 months, they can't even afford 1 cup of gari. Because you assume you've not dealt with the trauma that these women face and how this trauma affects their well-being, affects their decision-making in terms of how they relate with money and business. You've not dealt with it. You just assumed we need to set up business from there. But when you interact with them and then you bring in your own knowledge and experience to interpret what the issues are, it will radically improve the quality of the proposals you write, the quality of the projects that you design. So what I'm saying this evening is your work as a nonprofit is beyond charity, because that's where a lot of us have, that's where one of the gaps I've identified. That's where one of the gaps is. You have the mindset of, oh, we're doing charitable work, but you need to understand that it's beyond charitable work. You are actually delivering a service. You're a service-based organization. And you are a social innovator. So you must rise up to that office as a social innovator. You are delivering solutions. It's beyond charity. Charity is just one small thing in the broad spectrum of offerings, in the broad spectrum of activities that nonprofits do. Charity is just small. Haven't you seen? Most times I like to give examples like Lagos Business School, because I'm an alumni of Lagos Business School. And I say, look at Lagos Business School. Don't you love what they do? The kind of programs they run, the kind of services and solutions and global conversations that they are driving in terms of development is a nonprofit. Are they doing charitable work? No, it's development. Lagos Business School is a nonprofit. And you know how much they charge for programs. If you want to do a program with LBS, or you want to go to Pan-Atlantic University, it's a nonprofit. Faith Foundation and all of that. These are nonprofit. You see the work that Leap Africa is doing. Oh, you just love the brand. You just love the way the organization is positioning itself. And there are prices for their programs. It's not free. You cannot see Faith Foundation and say this is a charity or NGO, charity organization. No. So you need to come out from that box where you have boxed yourself into and say, we're doing charity, because it actually stifles your creativity to just think, oh, after all, it's charitable work. No, remove that, throw away that box and think like an innovator so that you can begin to bring fresh perspective into the things you are designing as programs that they are looking for grants funding for. Charity is just small, because when you're thinking of charity, the pathways, the lines through which you're thinking for solution, they are very narrow and few. The possibilities become so narrow for you. So even if the population that you are serving are very disadvantaged and underserved and very vulnerable, and then it seems that, oh, it is charitable activities that really, no. You need to think about, you need to design a better, a more meaningful vision, even for this very vulnerable population. And then you will be able to come up with programs that are innovative and really compelling in your proposals, beyond the want to distribute food, want to distribute clothing, this, and that. Those very vulnerable people, you can create opportunities for them whereby they can become very profitable and influential entrepreneurs. But that will not be possible for you if you have boxed yourself into the thinking, that box of charity. It's not charity, it's social innovation. And so become more innovative with the ideas you're bringing in your proposal. Beyond, we want to train women on this, we want to train youths on this and that and all of that. Or want to do road walk and road show. So you spend a lot of time printing placards and going on the streets. That is not influencing policy in any way. Because if someone that is very critical, someone that is very intense and vast is evaluating your proposal, they will be able to see all these loopholes, why these activities will not move this population anywhere. And so, in addition to having evidence, being creative and innovative, funders want to see that the solution you're bringing is practicable, it's practical, it can be implemented. There are some projects that cannot be implemented. For instance, if you are a growing nonprofit, you're just 2 to 3 years, and then you look at the profile of the people within the organization, maybe board members, member of advisory council and all of that, and they don't really have influence. I mean, these are not really big shots that have access to some doors. And then you are proposing a project that you want to influence policy at the national level, National Assembly level. How will you pass the gate? How will you pass the gate to go and hold conversations with policymakers at the National Assembly when you don't even know any of the gatekeepers? Where will you start the conversation from? Because I've had someone like that. That's about 3 years ago. We designed a project, and I knew that that project was way beyond the capacity of that executive director, because of the quality, kind of stakeholders that they wanted to mobilize for the dialogues, for the policy dialogues, the stakeholder engagement. It does not have that muscle to pull those kind of people. And that was what the funder wrote back to say, look for another organization. This is a good project idea. This would actually work, but you don't have the capacity to implement this project. You don't have the capacity to implement this project. So we recommend that you engage with another organization that has more experience, that has more capacity than you, and then apply with them as a co-implementer. So sometimes your idea is good, it ticks all the boxes in terms of being innovative and all of that, but it's just beyond your capacity to implement it. Capacity in terms of the people you have talked about in your application who are going to implement the project. So they look at the profile of the CVs of your program officers and all of that, and even you, the executive director. you don't have the academic qualification, maybe you don't have the personal skill set, because most nonprofits, you want to do economic empowerment, but you don't have the capacity for enterprise development. How are you going to empower women or youth economically? So even in that line, in that thematic area where you are working, you need to also develop capacity in that area. You need to build yourself. You're doing women and youth empowerment, economic empowerment. You also need to develop the capacity to ensure that you are able to increase the economic capacity of these people. So you need to be a good business developer. You need to be a good salesperson. So you can practically teach sales and teach business development, and people can run with that idea and really grow businesses that will be profitable. So even if you have design projects that are good, that are strong, your capacity cannot carry it. The CVs of the people that you have added to that application will be what will kill the proposal. So what organizations do is the people may not be your staff, but you can have an understanding where they can be a program officer, they can be a project officer also, to enhance the quality of your application. It's something that we have done before, to bring people, especially where we're doing work around policy. And then most of us in a nonprofit, at that time, we didn't have the muscle for policy dialogue. We didn't have the muscle to design policy briefs. So we brought in people who had that capacity. We brought in their CVs, and then they were the ones implementing the project, we're supporting them. They implemented the project under the organization. So you have consultants like that you can have an understanding with to improve the quality of the team you are putting in your application, to say, these are the people who implement the project. There's no need, you design a project, you want to do digital entrepreneurship, and then who will implement the project? Project manager is someone that is just doing NYSC. How will that work? So these are some of the factors that kill the application process. So you must show that the solution is practicable, it can be implemented, and also you have the capacity to implement it. So when you are approaching the questions in your grant application, because the work we'll be doing during the 5 weeks is practical. You're going to be doing the work, writing the proposal week by week, writing in depth the different sections of the proposal, the way we break it down. We're broken it down into the curriculum for the 5 weeks. So beyond the idea, beyond the concept of the project that you are bringing in, looking for money for, you have to demonstrate that you are an organization that is credible. Week 1, where we'll be discussing funders' interest in detail, looking at the donor call for proposal and all of that to ensure that you meet the requirements, and then doing your analysis. All of these things all feed into you being able to demonstrate that you're a good candidate and you have what it takes. You have the structure, you have the capability to actually execute the project. So most times when we hear organizations say that, oh, I had this idea, I applied, we didn't get the grant, only for us to see another organization implement our idea. It happens because they don't trust you enough that you have the capacity or that you have the credibility to implement the project. And so if they have implementing partners that have been working with them over time, they can work together, put up a project that may be similar to yours. It's some of the hazards, it's some of the risks within the sector. So what it means is that you need to continuously improve yourself. So if you've been seeing a requirement over and over again in the application process that you need to have maybe a couple of years, what's this stuff called? Financial reports or audited financial statements, you cannot afford to ignore it. And then you keep applying, and in that component, you say, no, we don't have financial statements. So how would they, what would they use as an evidence to assess if you actually have the financial integrity, or you actually have the money management mindset that they want, not an organization who will just be burning money on per diem, hotel, flights, this and that. Because your financial statement, your audited financial report, when someone looks at it, assesses it, they can actually paint a picture of the financial culture of your organization. If I look at the budget and see where you have plotted the money to go into, we will know whether you're a wasteful organization, you are just someone looking for grants for the sake of, oh, we need funding, or you really want to deliver value through your work. And so another issue, or what funders really want from you as an applicant, is for you to demonstrate value for money. That if you are asking for $10,000 in grants, that they as a funder, and also the beneficiaries that you have said you're going to support through your work, are really going to get the best value in terms of the solutions, in terms of the benefits for that amount of money. Not that you're asking for $50,000 and what you're going to do is just a 2-day training, a 2-day workshop. I always say that there's an extent to what you giving people access to information can do. That's why I said, oh, come on in, let's do the onboarding workshop together. And then I give you access to the environment where you are actually able to implement practically and get support for your process in terms of writing your proposals. So you're asking for $50,000 and you want to do maybe 2 or 3 days training, and that's it. Where are you going to get that money from? Nobody's going to approve that kind of project. So is your proposal, is your project idea or your budget, the way you're going to develop it, does it show value for money? Does it show that the target population will get the best outcome, the best result, the highest level of impact for the money that you're requesting for? And through the way you have written your budget, through the program the way you have designed the program and the way you have explained or described it in the application, they will be able to assess that if the project is going to waste money or is really going to deliver value to the population. So these are the things that funders really want. And then you must ensure that you have, or you are designing or describing the work you want to do to meet those requirements, to meet these particular things that they are looking out for. And so what does a traditional proposal really contain? So remember I said proposal writing is, look at it as, okay, this is a conversation. You are describing the work you're doing to a funder, but you want to ensure that what you are saying is really touching all the points, is really touching all the critical things that the funder wants to hear. All of the information that you're sharing, the content must answer the question, because anybody looking at your proposal they have specific questions that they have in mind. And so the more you are able to sufficiently or in a very compelling way provide answers to those questions to give clarity so that their decision is more favorable for you, because this is a highly competitive process. You're not the only one submitting application to them. So you have like 1,000 people or 100 people applying for this opportunity. So why should they pick you? So if you have 100 people, they are going to take five projects for the year, or they are going to implement 20 projects for the year, and 500 organizations have applied. So why should they pick you over the other 500 organizations that have applied? So you must be touching on those key common points that is important and critical to the funder. So a traditional template, a traditional proposal template, however it is being developed by the funder, answers some really basic questions in terms of the executive summary. So I'm just going to run through this down, because in the 5 weeks, you're going to be working on each aspect of this proposal, each of the components. You're going to be writing it, you're going to be working on it. So traditionally, you will see a summary. You see an executive summary, which is like a 1-page, it's like the cover letter of the proposal that explains everything. So if they read the executive summary, you know, sometimes when they're teaching you how to apply for a job, blah, 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 they'll say cover letter or your 1-page CV. When someone reads it, the person can decide to look through your entire file if it's interesting or just throw it out the window. So the 1-page, the executive summary, is the entire proposal explained in just 1 page or half a page. Sometimes they'll tell you half a page, 250 words summary. So it talks about the entire proposal from from describing the issues, the problem that you're working with, to your methodology, how you're going to solve it, what are the key indicators that you're going to track, and then how your organization is best positioned to implement this project, the work you have done before, the impact you have made, and then how much you need. So it's usually advised that, okay, this is the last thing you should write. So as during the 5 weeks, as you begin to build or begin to write the different components of your proposal, this is what you will be doing. And so your proposal will have an executive summary or a summary. And then your proposal will also have a background analysis. So you need to pay attention to how the funder has captioned that section. So it may be background analysis, it may be profile of your population profile, or project justification, problem analysis, need statements. There are a lot of ways, but if you look at the guidance, because in the template or the application form, when the funder puts a section, there's always a guiding note underneath it that explains how they want you to approach it, or the kind of information that you should be putting at that particular section of your proposal or of your application. And so however they have explained it, they just want to know in depth about the population. They want to know who you are going to deliver this value to, that you are asking for this $20,000 or this $100K. Who? So if you are just explaining things at the surface level, you're not going in depth to really discuss issues, to really touch the main points of, okay, that paints a very holistic picture of the experiences of the population, the problems that they are facing, the causal factor, what are the issues that people, they can't really understand to make a decision to say, okay, let's work with this particular organization, because the information is insufficient. And so you have your summary in the proposal template, you have either your problem statement, problem analysis, profile of the population, however they've explained it. And then there's another section that you will see in the template or in the application form where you will have to describe your project. And so this may be themed program description or your methodology, project description, but there's always a place where you have to provide information about your solution and how it works. So during the program, you will be designing a project using a logical framework or a results framework, because with the results framework, you can supply the content. If you have used the result framework to come up with your project, you'll be able to provide the information they need in terms of methodology, how the program will work, what is the objective, what are the what are the outputs, what are the outcomes, all of those information. What activities are you implementing? How does these activities contribute to your out? You know, there are a lot of questions that you will look at and it's confusing for you if you don't know it, because you think the funder is asking the same thing over and over again. These are different levels of change, levels to your method that they want to understand, so that someone reviewing the application can really assess whether it would work, whether it's practicable, whether it's feasible for that population. So you always have to supply information about how your methodology works. Very importantly, this is where a lot of gaps. You'd see M&E, monitoring, evaluation, and sustainability. So you have described a very beautiful project, and then you come to the bottom of the template and the funder is asking you, what are the objectively verifiable indicators? Or how would you evaluate, measure, track, and evaluate the impact of the project? And then you're confused. So these different parts, all of the aspects or the sections of a grant application or a proposal all helps the funder to assess the quality of work that you are proposing to deliver. And so if they cannot see how you would measure your success in a feasible and realistic way, then there's a question mark there. So they may just assume, oh, you have gotten a professional to design the project for you. You don't even know how you're going to measure, the result, how you're going to track it. So monitoring, evaluation, and sustainability is a very critical component of your proposal, especially when you're now going for higher amounts of funding, where you're going from that 20K and above. There are some $5,000 grants you will see that they will be asking for the whole world, and you'll be wondering, what is all this? The idea is to ensure that you were prepared mentally, you know the kind of information that the funder wants to see across the different sections of the proposal, and you can respond to them. And then you have to explain, you have to sell yourself. Why should your organization be favored over the others? So you have discussed, oh, this is the problem we're solving, blah, blah, blah. This is the solution we're bringing and all of that. Okay. Can you be trusted to execute this solution? So that's where you're now giving an overview of your organization, you as the implementing organization. You're giving an overview of yourself. You're saying you've been existing for the last, mind you, you saying that you are a registered nonprofit, registered with the Corporate Affairs Wanty of Germany the last 50 years, is in no way, does not give you any added credibility, because it's a basic requirement for you to have a legal structure, for you to be registered with the right regulatory or compliance bodies in your country. So it does not give you any added edge that we're a registered business, we're a registered company, or we're a registered nonprofit. No. So your capacity is where you're selling, you're demonstrating your knowledge, that you are a subject matter expert. You have been doing this in the last 10 years. This is the impact. This is the reach of your programs. This is the impact of the work you have been doing. This is how you have transformed life, supporting it with data. This is the work you'll be doing in the 5 weeks while writing your proposal. At the end of the 5 weeks coaching program, you have a fully developed, compelling proposal in your hand that you have written by yourself. And so you can always use it, tweak it to respond to different applications that you would find online, or whatever opportunity you want to respond to. And so the capacity statement is not, it will be a sin for you to just write that you're a registered organization, you've been existing so, and that's it. Or just one line, 2 lines. When they have giving you 500 words, you should finish it and really talk about the work you've been doing, the technical capacity of the organization, and everything that will give you an added advantage. And then the budget is the final and very critical part of the proposal. All of this you will be doing practically during the 5 weeks program. And so here's the structure. If you have questions, you can be using the chat area. No, we would have a lot of time within the 5 weeks period to really work on proposal writing in depth. And so this is structure for the 5 weeks. We're starting July 1st. Those of you in the wait list, you've been receiving the emails, and you're also in the wait list WhatsApp group. I also decided to expand, the people participating. I sent it to a couple of other email lists, and so you may not be in the WhatsApp group. So you want to ensure that you are on the list and in the WhatsApp group as we go on, because we're just like 2-3 weeks away from the program. So we're starting July 1st. It's going to be for 5 Saturdays, all the Saturdays in July. That's when we're having the sessions. So you are going to receive the proposal writing toolkit by the time you sign up. you receive the proposal writing toolkit. And this toolkit contains all of the workshops. So the idea is we've had the workshops before. There's no need reinventing the wheel, teaching the same thing the same way over and over and over again. It gets really exhausting. So we already have the workshops, which you will have access to. The 4 modules, which is understanding the donor interest and community needs, like you can see, project design and writing your narrative, monitoring, evaluation and sustainability strategy, budgeting. So all of the things that I just talked about with regards to the component parts of a proposal, however the proposal is, however the template or the application form is being developed or designed by the form that it contains these elements. And so you're going to be working on each part of these elements during the 5 weeks, during the course of the 5 weeks, from July 1st to July 29th. So you're going to receive the proposal writing toolkit, which contains the workshops, contains ebooks that you need, that gives you more content, in-depth information on approaching each of the sections of the proposal, because for some of you, you may love reading way more than maybe sitting through live classes. So you have all of the options to really support your learning. So you're going to get the workshops, you're going to get books, you're also going to get templates. So the live template, so the idea is to give you an experience like you are really writing a proposal that you are going to submit to a funder. And I would encourage you guys to actually do that, because in the first cohort, people actually submitted the very first grant that a participant got. That was in 2021. The very first participant that got a grant from this program was Husseini, and he got $5,000. It was from the project idea that he was working on in the training, in the coaching program every week. And during the live co-work sessions, we're helping him to improve on it, retailor it, and he just put it into an application. And that was the first grant for their organization ever, $5,000. Joy, the same thing. So from the training, because I remember clearly, vividly, that she was showing up every week with her work. She was putting in the work, and she was able to get the first grant for her organization. So she was working in a nonprofit at the time. She has gone on to another organization right now. So you should not sleep. Don't sleep. These things, money will not fall on your laps. It does not happen. The grants will not fall on your lap. You need to position yourself properly. You need to put in the work to write the proposal. Not putting one line, a question as a funder has asked you a question to describe your project, and then you write one line in the application form and think somebody will give you $50,000 for writing a 1-page document as a proposal. No, you will not be able to convince the funder that way. And that is the work that we are going to be doing during the 5 weeks. So from the focus, every Saturday in July, this is the work we're doing. Every week, you would show up with the completed part of your proposal live. You're not coming to play. You're not coming to sleep or to be spoon-fed. So you're going to write that part of the proposal for that week. You're going to show up on Saturday. On Saturday, I'm not going to be teaching. This one I'm doing the last 2 hours, I'm teaching you people. The workshops are already recorded. So as you're sleeping, you're relaxing in your houses, within the week, you'll be going through your workshop, going through the training, and then you would write that part of the proposal. You would create it. So week 1, we're doing understanding donor interest. In your toolkit, there's a call for proposal. It's a real call for proposal. I think it's that's from 2020 or so. It's the US Embassy, one of their past proposals. I like it because it's that particular call for proposal is on the borderline between easy and difficult. So if you're able to work with it and you see an easier template, good for you. If you see something that is more difficult, you can also tackle it. That's why I put that particular one in the toolkit. So you're going to get a donor call for proposal, and you would find yourself in that state of mind that you are really writing a proposal to get funding, because whatever proposal you come up with, you would use it to make an application. at the end of the program. So you get a donor call for proposal. You would get that template, the application template for that particular call for proposal, the budget template, everything. My first proposal I talked about of £98,000, you would also get it. So you can read through it. You'd get it as part of the toolkit. You can read through the proposal and really understand, okay, the writing, how to approach the conversation, or how to approach describing the population you're working with and all of that in an application. How you should be discussing your organization. You would see in detail that proposal was, I don't think I've seen a lot of templates as difficult as that jocose proposal. It was a terror moment, but surprisingly, we won the grant. And so you will see all the difficult questions, you see how we approached it, and then it will improve the way you think through how you approach applications or how you approach proposal writing. So you would create those, but you will fill the template, you will work on it, and you will show up on Saturday night, because I'll be working with you from 8 p.m. So to spend like 8 to 10 p.m. or 8 to 11 p.m. in the group. The training, each cohort, I can only take about 20 people, because going over work within the group, it's a lot of work, and it's going to be really draining. So each cohort, it's only 20 people that can get into a cohort. So you want to ensure that you are registering early enough. And so every week you will come with that part of the proposal. You would be with a system, please, because you're going to present from your end. I'll set the room in a way that everybody can show their slide, and you're going to present it. We'll take a look at it, and then the errors, I'll spot them for you, strengthen them, especially when it comes to your log frame, because the log frame is the foundation of the project. So that's what we'll be doing on a week-to-week basis. So week 1, in the workshop, you would hear what you need to do with regards to the co-work sessions, preparing for the co-work sessions. So week 1, we're doing all of the analysis, your needs analysis, your needs statement, writing the problem statement is what, or the problem description is what you're doing in the first week. The second week, you're designing. So week 2, you're going to show up with your logical framework or your results framework to the co-work session. You're going to show up live with it. We'll discuss it, we'll tear it apart, we'll put it back together. Magdalene, ensure that you take this word, because this is your carryover. I don't understand you. So week 2, you're going to show up with the design. Week 3, you're showing up with your M&E and sustainability strategy live in the session. I'll work with you on it to improve it. Week 4, you show up with your budget and ensure that it's demonstrating value for money. And then in the final week, week 5, implementation support, you are going to identify one grant that you would apply for with whatever content you developed from the 5 weeks. So I'm teaching you today because the 5 weeks is where we would hold your hand and force you to work and come up with a proposal that you would use to apply for money between $10,000 to $100,000 grant. And so finally, registration is now open, because I've been teasing you guys, telling you the last weeks, by the time we finally open registration and all of that. So we've finally opened registration. For those of you who are on the wait list, you know that by the time you were joining the wait list, I told you that you're going to get an early bird discount of 40%, which is going to be open for a short window. That's why I've been singing it since, that Grantwriting Mastery is opening. So you prepare your card, prepare your wallet, and then you can get the 40% discount. And so this is the registration detail on the screen. For those of you watching on Instagram, I apologize, we're not able to share screen, but on my page, I'm going to put the information on how you can claim the early bird discount. You ensure that you don't lose out on it. And this early bird discount is going to expire on Sunday next week. So that's why for the last weeks, I've been talking about it, because the early bird discount of 40%, this is like almost half. No, honestly, nobody does a 5 weeks coaching program like this for this price. So I'm just saying that this is part of, like, this is my CSR to you guys. Nobody does this. So for 1 week, it's only going to be open for 1 week. It's going to expire on Sunday. So to get this rate, to get in at 45,000, you must be signing up before Sunday. After Sunday, it's back to the flat fee of 75,000 naira. So for just my friends that are in the UK, you're in the UK, you're in Kenya, you're in Botswana and South Africa. Yes, I think that's like the profile of the people we have in here is $139. And so for your early bird discount, what you're paying is just $85. In Naira, you're paying 45,000 and it's going to expire on Sunday. After Sunday, is back to 75K. And so you pay to this account on the screen. It's a UBA account. For those of you on Instagram, I'm going to share it on my wall. I'm going to pin a post about it so you can quickly see it. You can quickly see the information and claim the early bird discount. So right now, I'll take questions because we've come to the end of the onboarding training. I told you it was going to be an hour, 30 minutes training, and we are right on time. If we remove the 2 minutes, I had to take my daughter back to her room. That's about 1 hour, 30 minutes training. So we'll take questions right away before we close for tonight. I'll just go through the questions. Thank you, Nancy. You're such a lovely, lovely person. Thank you for all the comments and questions. I can see you. Thank you for joining. We have a couple of questions here. How does an NGO whose funding comes from crowdfunding, personal cash, and occasional capital input from the board members go about audited financials? Beautiful question. I had a live session last week and I was talking about this. So irrespective of where you are getting the money to fund your organization, you must be entering it into a record. So let me explain it this way. Let's assume that I have a nonprofit, ABC Foundation, and I've been operating in the last 5 years. And this last 5 years, I've been doing crowdfunding on my Facebook page to raise donations to do the work that I've been doing, creating access for women into the political space and into governance structures. So in the last 5 years, I've been raising donations through crowdfunding for my Facebook page. I have a 5-member board, and then these 5 people, they've been giving me roughly ₦1 million every quarter to execute the different projects that we're running in the foundation. So from the board, and then even me personally, the founder, from my business and from my salary, I bring in ₦1 million every quarter. All of these things are more like, oh, friends, family, colleagues. What you are supposed to be doing now, if you are in this particular, if you fit this particular profile, ensure that all of the monies you receive, including the one you're using for your project, you are paying it into your organization's account. So I am a founder. I'm a founder of ABC Foundation. I am donating ₦1 million, or I spend ₦1 million estimate every quarter for my nonprofit. I am not spending that money from my personal account. That is the mistake 90% of you do. You spend for your nonprofit from your personal account. So you want to go for an event, then you pay transport from your person, you book a taxi from your personal account. You have a training to execute, and then you pay for the hall, you pay for refreshments, you print stationery from your personal account. It's wrong, and you will not be able to get a robust financial report or a detailed report at the end of the year. That's why you're stuck. So you need to restructure your financial process to ensure that whatever you're spending for your nonprofit, you are paying it into your nonprofit organization's account, and then you are registering or recording it as a donation from you. So it becomes one of the lines or one of the income heads you can use in your report, or your revenue income stream you can use is board donations, crowdfunding. So if You look at your bank statement. Anybody donating to you, Facebook friend, Instagram friend, supporting your nonprofit should send the money to the nonprofit account, not your personal account. Because when you receive it in a nonprofit account, when you're reconciling your records, it will show, okay, there's a Musa that gave you 5,000 naira. It's in the bank statement, 5,000. So on the 1st of June, there was 7,000 donation that came in. On the 2nd, there was 20,000 donation that came in. So everything that came in through crowdfunding like that is grouped. So it enters into your book as 257,500 naira crowdfunding, 500,000 board donation. Instead of you spending from your personal accounts here and there, whoever is going to support your nonprofit, including you, pay it into the nonprofit account, and then you begin to spend money. So it enters as revenue. It's recorded as revenue or as income for your nonprofit. But it's you that is funding it. A lot of you are even 100% self-funding your nonprofit. There's no 1 kobo or 1 pound donation from anywhere. Send that money instead of paying from your personal account. Every month, you can say 200,000 or 500K, whatever capacity you're operating at, you're donating it to the nonprofit. And then from your nonprofit account, you spend. That's how you begin to build capacity and build readiness to show to funders that you have credibility. It's from this your startup phase. So you need to restructure your records, your financial process to ensure you're not spending, you are different from the nonprofit organization. So you should not be, not like us, our personal brands. And for now, if you're a nonprofit organization, everything going into the organization and everything coming out must be from the account, because that's how you can get an audited report. Because most of you say, oh, we've not been receiving grants, how can we get an audited report? As long as you've done an activity, you have spent 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 of your personal money over the years, you have no reason why you should not have an audited report. So put your house in order, put your books in order, ensure that whatever is coming in, whatever is going out is through the organization's account. So if you don't have an account, you have to go and ensure that you get your documentation, the SCUML, your CAC document, everything you need to open your bank account. Make sure it is opened and all transactions are operated from your account. And then at the end of the year, you can get an auditor to audit the record, and you have one of the documents that you need for your grant proposal writing. Okay, I don't own an NGO, but seeking for funds to expand my business. So if you're looking for a business grant, this program will not be the best for you, because the way we're going to design the programs is not necessarily how you're going to be talking about your products or designing your services, except the kind of business you run, the kind of services you run can be structured in a way that it can serve as a nonprofit or like a project for a social enterprise. For you to get your SCUML, you need to go to the website. You should have EFCC website. So it's EFCC that helps you with SCUML. All right, so any more questions? Thank you very much for this. I'm still setting up my foundation, and I don't have any records at all. How will your training benefit me? And is there a possibility of getting grants at this level? You don't have any records at all. They are very small grants. There are small grants of $2,000, $5,000 available. So for those small grants, they may not be asking for heaven and earth, that the projects of $20,000 or $50,000 will be asking for you. There are some small grants that you just need your CAC. But the idea is not for you to remain there, is to start building in the documentation, building in the structure that you need. This training is strictly proposal writing, and then whatever level you're operating in, as far as you have a nonprofit and you want to explore grants, you want to start applying, sending applications, then you should join the program. You should join the coaching program and get that sorted out. Okay, you said we should make ourselves a business. Are we supposed to charge for our trainings in underserved community? So there's it depends on the model you want to operate in. There are some communities that even if you want to charge, they won't be able to afford it. There's a lot of considerations you need to make. There's even an organization I'm currently consulting for. They are not yet at that stage where they can charge for the service. For you to be able to charge for your offerings or charge for your trainings, you need to consider a lot of issues. Okay, so these people, they are very vulnerable, but can they afford to pay 1,000 naira maybe for the training manual? For the training manual, for instance. So you just need to measure, weigh the options. And at times you just need to test it. Let's even see what will happen. If we tell them pay, will they just run away and everything will scatter? So you may not really know until you get it done. Until you get into the field and tell them, okay, this next training or this part of the program, just like the way we're here. I've told you the onboarding workshop is free. I've taught a lot of stuff this evening that you would even get from a paid workshop. I mean, like half of the things I taught in this workshop was like one of the days for the 2 days workshop we had in April, and it was a paid workshop. So, but I'm now telling you, this is the other side of the program, which is the 5 weeks coaching program. This is the structure. This is what we're going to be doing. That one is paid. So you can also use that model to say, okay, this is, but if you want us to work with you to write your business plans, depending on whatever project you're running, then this is a paid service or paid program. So it depends on the population you're working with. It depends on, if you're a full charity organization, you're working with orphans, the orphans are not going to pay you. So your ability to charge will depend on the population, will also depend on maybe the level of influence that you have even gathered. So if you've been able to grow your influence over time, grow your credibility with the population you're working with, you can charge for your programs and they will not even worry. I mean, I happily paid Lagos Business School to attend the nonprofit leadership and management. And even the amount they put on the website that we're going to pay when we turn, imagine you are applying for a training and you are praying to be selected. You put it as prayer points. It's your money, substantial amount of money that you're going to pay, but you are still praying that they accept you into the program. It's brand, it's influence. Lagos Business School did not get there in one day. We were going to pay. The amount fee was high. We were praying to be selected. We shared testimony when we were selected. And then before we saw that, they actually collected just 50% of what they said we were meant to pay. And it was like Christmas Day for me and all of us that joined the program. So let me see if there are other questions. Can you shed more insight into the involvement of EFCC in assessing? Yeah, EFCC. Magdalene, your hands are up. So if you have a question, just go ahead and you have the floor.
Good evening, boss.
Good evening, Jerry. So you've missed your two group. In fact, I'll be putting fine. You guys are in the academy. If you miss your coaching,
just make me the class rep for carryover.
You'll be paying.
Maybe
I'll soon drive you from the carryover. You'll be paying fine for missing your life coaching calls. Good evening.
Yeah, so I wanted to add as regards to charging your beneficiaries.
Yeah.
There was something you told me once that I think changed how I viewed the services I offered.
Yeah.
And yes, and as regards my reusable pad training, and I figured that yes, the underserved women needed this thing. Okay. So I always usually do the trainings for them free. But ironically, there are nonprofits that need someone like me, so I charge them. So that is one way I get money.
I've sent a couple of people your way. I don't know if they've reached out to you.
Not really. So just recently, a lady that works with Plan reached out to me. She saw one of our flyers when we were trying to raise funds for the Menstrual Hygiene Day. And she was like, oh, how much will I pay you? I need you to go to a secondary school and train some girls. And,
Beautiful.
she just said to me, send me your budget. And I love that because she wanted us to not only train the girls, but she wanted us to sew the pads to give 100 girls.
Them,
so
yeah.
that is Yes, so that is one way you can actually gain money from those services, and then also give to the communities you're serving for free. So it's kind of a win-win for you. So I just wanted to encourage.
So that's a good one. But also, because I remember now the idea I shared with you. You can also pursue that, especially if you're growing your influence online and you're growing a large community, if you have a large follower base. So instead of just asking people to donate so that women can have access to pads, you can reposition it that you create these reusable pads. These are eco-friendly personal hygiene products for women, and then you're targeting women in underserved communities. So for every 5,000 naira they're donating, one woman gets the supply that can last her for a year because it's reusable. Or for every 20,000 someone is donating, they're actually ensuring that 10 women in this community are out of, what's it called? Is it menstrual poverty? They're free from menstrual poverty for the next 1 year or for the next 6 months. So it's actually it's a business model kind of conversation. It's just that at the end of the day, your end user, whoever is the direct beneficiary of your program or of whatever value you're bringing in, may not be able to afford to pay for it, but someone somewhere must be paying for it. It's just that right now you are the one paying. You need to transfer that payment to someone else. That's why you're looking at grant proposal writing. You want to transfer it to grant funders. You can transfer it to corporate organizations in terms of corporate sponsorships. If you've grown or if you're growing a solid base online in terms of followers, you can transfer it to them. And so they are making donations to ensure that this number of people have access to this kind of service or this kind of support so that they will experience this thing. At the end of the day, it's all about the value you bring, and it's all about how you're able to communicate this value to the different stakeholders that you're working with. And so remember when I started the training, I talked about mindset shifts. I talked about how you need to begin to look at what you do. It's beyond charity, it's not charity. You are a social innovator. And so you need to expand the possibilities that you feel are quite open to you. Most of these things, most of these ideas, you just have to run with it to see how it will work. You just have to have this level of diligence and commitment to execution. So it's at the end of the day, it's not about the training, but it's about what you're able to do with the content. It's about what you're able to get out of it by what you do with what we're giving you access to. Joy, Husseini, and the rest of them were not the only participants in the Grantwriting Mastery, but the remarkable thing that set them apart from other participants was implementation. I saw people that were asking me, I will not be able to show up, or can my personal assistant show up? And I was like, really? It's all right. I won't push you too much. I will not force you to get results. Just wake up and take responsibility for yourself. You would get all the support that you need to be able to create an outstanding proposal at the end of the day. That's why we did this onboarding workshop, so your mind is prepared to approach the program to get the best out of the process of 5 weeks. So we'll take one last question for tonight. So what if what I do has more to do with rehabilitation of vulnerable people? How do I make the best from the process, irrespective of what you do? As long as you're a nonprofit organization, as long as you desire grant funding for it, whatever problem you are solving. The thing is, even if it's a service-based business, because I play around a lot with strategy tools. So even if it's a service-based business, I can create a project plan using a log frame out of it that you can feed into a grant proposal writing process. As long as you are solving a problem, as long as there's a problem to be solved, there is a group experiencing that problem. There is a solution to be delivered. And this problem is in line with the SDG. 100% fit. So you can make the best out of it. As long as you're working with vulnerable people, it's just about communicating it, giving sufficient, valuable, and compelling information in your proposal. So thank you guys. Thank you very much tonight. So registration is open. Ebenezer, okay, let's take 2 more questions before we shut down tonight. You can drop your questions if you're watching from Instagram. If you're watching from Instagram also, please drop your questions and then I'll respond to it. Last night is becoming very expensive, working with women vendors to ease delivery cost. Okay.
Good evening, Ma.
Thank you. Okay. Let her talk. Let her talk.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Lola Dioloniyo. I just joined the platform this evening.
Okay, I remember, yes.
Yes. So I have 2 questions. Thank you so much for the class. The class was quite insightful. I got to see that it's important that we talk about the outcomes and, especially the higher level of benefits, for the beneficiaries when we're writing those proposals. And so I just have 2 questions. The first question is, how much does it really cost if an organization, a social impact organization, is to engage you to write proposals and of course to write grants? Because sometimes the founder can be dabbling in between different things and they may not necessarily have the time to sit down to actually write those grants, so what's the cost implication for engaging you on projects like that? And especially in terms of how frequently it is. So if the organization wants to engage you like 3 times a year or maybe 4 times a year, is there a package for that instead of just having to engage you once? I'm seeing that because I lead an organization and we're always doing projects back to back. And, one of the things that we're looking at is also funding as well. That's my first question. Then my second question is, are you based in Lagos, Ma? Thank you.
I would answer the second one. I am based in the land of King Charles. I'm in the UK.
Oh, I see. Wow.
Yeah, I'm in the UK. Wow. And the first question, that would be a private conversation. So I can know in detail. I cannot give you a flat out price. I need to know the kind of programs you're running. So I will do, so I'll more or less do a due diligence assessment to say, okay, let me know where you guys really are, what you really, how best can I come into the picture? So it's a win-win for both of us. So just send me a private message. You'll see my number. You have joined the WhatsApp group. So the admin, just shoot me a message and then we can have a Zoom call and we'll talk about that within the week.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so is it recorded? Yes, the session is recorded. So here's what we'll do, because maybe some of you are not on that email list or in that WhatsApp group. So let me drop the link and ensure that we are all on the same page, but some of you are on a different email list and I just sent you the Zoom link to join me live. So I'll just quickly grab that link and share it so everybody is in the same place. So 1 second, let it load. So if you have more questions, just keep them coming.
Can I come in board now? Okay, good evening. Good evening. Rich as always.
Thank you.
I want to use a question to answer a question. I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Then let it serve as a question. Let it serve as an answer to the person who asked about charging money. Now, when it comes to charging money, much as you are running a business in quotes, value should be your driving force.
Yeah, and principle.
Yes. So value, what value are you bringing on the table that could make people pay money and go home excited after
Yeah.
paying? And go home excited after paying, without feeling that after encountering you, that is this why I gave this guy my money?
I
Even if
want
it
to
is
claim.
1
I
naira.
want to claim refund.
Even if it is 1 naira. Now, for my organization, we have not written any grants.
Okay.
We are building. I have been on a journey with you for some years now. But then, what I have been doing is to seek out opportunities to present on the table what we can do. In the month of April, I accompanied a friend, not me. I accompanied a friend to go and make a presentation. In the March, I accompanied a friend to go and make a presentation. Can you hear me?
Is it March this year?
Yes, March this year.
Okay.
I accompanied a friend to go and make a presentation. And in that presentation, there were other guests. And one of the guests there was the head of a particular hospital, their nursing session. Okay. And I said to her, my NGO is into patients' rights advocacy.
All right.
But I would like to come and run a free training for your nurses to build their capacity in patient-centered care. Now, why did I say a free training? We are looking for visibility, one. We are not that known, two. But we need to put something on the table to demonstrate capacity.
You have actually been baptized.
we have been on this discussion since March until last Friday.
Okay.
I got a message fixing a date for the event this June.
Which is a free
and
training.
To my shock, yes, to my shock, she now said, your audience will be directors, deputy directors, managers, and coordinators in the nursing section, in nursing. Now, why is this? Why am I sharing this? I went to just run a free training for them with the conviction that, of course, I know my capacity to deliver. With the conviction that when we are done with that training, from them, we will get referrals to other people who we will train for free.
And so you even have, I'm sure you have that in mind. So what's the next step after the free training that even these deputy directors and all of that can sign into? It may not even be training, it may be a consulting or an advisory kind of package that also adds value to your nonprofit's mission.
Okay, thank you for that. So the point I'm making with this is this. It is not always money. It's not buying and selling. Pay 10 naira, take biscuit and go home.
Go home, yeah.
That there are other values. In the month of May, I did a training for MBA. I served as one of their resource. Yes, lawyers. I served as, but their discussion was medical or related. And they engaged me to come and facilitate. When I was done with that training, expressly, I requested for a letter from them.
Referral letter, yes.
So not just referral, acknowledge, saying that this is what more like attestation, a testimonial, showing this is what training has happened. So why I'm doing this deliberately? Tomorrow now, if we have a funding opportunity, we can fall back. This is what we have done. This is what we have done. This is what we have done.
Capacities.
And these are the documentary evidence from these people to back it up.
Yes.
Even these
do you know that
are going to...
there are some applications that will ask for reference letters.
Okay,
reference
fine.
letters from the stakeholders you've worked with. before.
Okay.
And so, yes, I remember. I apologize that I didn't say it during the training, but it's really very important. And like I mentioned to you just a few moments ago, there should be a next step. So more like bringing a business mindset into the work you do. There are some things that you can then begin to restructure. Magdalene shared a model, and that model is very sound. You are sharing a model now, but you can also tweak the model. So when you see that, when you get into the room and you're teaching people and you see that this is a high value audience, you now begin to think of, okay, what's the next stage of the relationship? Can you help them create a policy?
Okay.
You can recommend creating a policy in terms of patient-centered care policy.
Okay.
And program for the hospital.
Thank
So
you
as
very
part
much.
of what you are teaching, so I'm giving you that. That's why I told you, don't miss life coaching. And I didn't tell participants. So after your training, you'll be a part of our academy. Every month, we have a monthly coaching call. And we discuss things like these ideas, get everybody pumped up to ensure that they're focusing on revenue generating activities for their nonprofit. So it's the business school. That's the business school for nonprofits, where you want to do nonprofit work differently, not like general charity. You're bringing a business mindset to it, so you can really drive value. So you are going to be a part of that. So think of what is it that can really make institutions, healthcare institutions, be more patient-centered in terms of their care delivery. You see that they need to take action. Having a patient-centered care culture has to do with action, process, and action. And then you need to have a policy framework that needs to be implemented. So, Barrister Ebenezer, I want you to think about that as a service that you're going to be offering this hospital. So you begin to design patient-centered care policy for them and okay, what are the things that structures that need to be in place that can help the hospital ensure that they are patient-centered? Is it that they'll have a helpline policy, or this is a number you can call if you are not satisfied, this and that? Think through it. And then after the free training, when you see that you have decision makers in the room, you pitch that policy advisory service to them. And then it's also a way for you to generate revenue. And so, guys, our first success story from Grantwriting. Who are you?
There is a serious fallback.
Who is this person? Please help us. Let me check the participants. I need to. The names is too much. All right. So our very first success story is here. Hussein is here, and he's going to be sharing his experience with us. Hussein was our very first success story from Grantwriting Mastery. He joined the very first cohort. From when it started as a 2-day training till we metamorphosed into 5 weeks, Hussein was part of it. He did the 2-day training. He did the 5 weeks training, turned the idea and applied and got his first $5,000 grant. So Hussein, you have the mic. Just share to them how it's been. It's been 2 years. So it's been 2 years. And I'm even surprised that he's there. I just saw his hand up. I didn't know he has been in the room quietly. So Hussein, you have the floor. Good to have you. Turn your mic. Let me see. I've not seen your face since the last time I saw you in the lorry. Let me see your face.
Nice. Yeah. Let me.
So let's see your face.
I'm coming, ma. So good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Hussein Mohammed, and I am a community development specialist, and I work as project manager for Sekina Medical Outreach. So last 2 years, I will
snap this one. I see your face.
So last year I was opportune. I was just scrolling on my Facebook trying to learn about grants. I was doing research, like looking for opportunities where I could learn grant writing for free. So fortunately, I came across Mrs. Coach Ruki's page, and I just said, oh, let me just go for the program. And I've gone for several programs like that, just online programs. And when I attended a free training, wanted to
Let
like
me mute that
learn
background
more.
noise. It's too much.
So one thing that struck me, that wanted me to learn more from Coach Ruki, was the fact that if you are working in the health sector, and if she speaks about health sector, you'll be like, are you specialized in the health sector? And another person will come around and speak about waste management, and she would also speak about waste management, and you'll be like, you just finished speaking about health sector, now you're talking about waste management. And she goes back to girls' education, goes back to poverty alleviation, and like that, the knowledge is just like all around, and you'll be like, oh, this person knows what she's doing. And that was why I said, okay, I have to pay for our next class. And I was opportune, I paid. After we did like about, I think we did 7 weeks training. When we did that 7 weeks training, then one thing she keeps on telling us that whatever she teaches us, we should apply. Most people attended, some people were not applying, but for me, I was applying all the knowledge and everything. And I applied for one particular grant then. It's an international based organization. And with God be the glory, I was able to get my first $5,000.
My happiness is that, you sent me the proposal to review. I was in my village for party. I said, no, I cannot look at it, just submit. And so he did it on his own self after the training. And so maybe he would have been feeling it's because I looked at it. So thank God I never touched it. He submitted it like that.
Exactly. And I sent the report, after finishing the grant program, I sent it to her. She said no, she wasn't looking at it. I should just go ahead. And I submitted and I got my grants. And I just want to use this opportunity to encourage you guys that don't worry. As the last speaker was asking that what will be a take home. Sincerely, if you attend a class regularly and you do what you are supposed to do, you would eventually call people to come and attend this particular program. That was why when she said there's an onboarding section, I said I have to be here tonight. So that just to share and encourage people. There's grant outside there. Many people are getting it. You too can get it.
Yes,
thank you, ma.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How is the baby now? I think it should be about a year. Don't they work out now, Seth?
Yes.
Thank you so much. My regards to your wife. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, this is 2 hours. I don't feel like ending the session, but I have to close. My kids are back in school tomorrow, and plenty things here and there. And so it's been an interesting one. Execution. In the words of what's his name? Steve Harris, he said ruthless execution. You have to be ruthless. All of us, if we really want to experience growth, we want to experience transformation, you want to experience change, you need to be ruthless when it comes to execution, taking action, not be overthinking and thinking and analyzing. Do it, and as you do, you learn. You even me, I'm still growing in proposal writing because the preferences of funders keep changing. So you need to be up to date. I mean, I just paid £11,000 to do a master's degree in the UK. It's part of growth. It's part of expanding your capacity, expanding the knowledge, and expanding the value that you bring. I have a radical view to what nonprofits should be about. It's not just charity. In helping the vulnerable population, not helping them, in uplifting the vulnerable population. You need to understand what empowerment really is, because we are throwing that word about empowerment. We're empowering this, we're empowering that. Empowerment means to give power. So is it not in physics when they said power is the capacity to cause change? So when you say you are empowering a population through your nonprofit, it means you are giving them the capacity to change their circumstances. You're giving them the capacity to change their lives. And that is what you are describing in your proposal or in your application. You have to design a solution that really gives people the power, the capacity, the ability to change their circumstances. I can just put this training, people will charge you 20,000 for this onboarding workshop that you have come for today. I know of a colleague, her training is 6 weeks and it's $500. I'm in the UK. I know how much my bills are on a month-to-month basis. So if I'm saying 20 people, I am paying 45,900,000 naira. That's just 1 month rent for me. That's why I told you that this is like CSRO. They are the offerings and services that I provide. $5,000, $4,000 for organizations, non-profit. I have a radical view to the work you're doing as a non-profit. It's a business in the sense that you need to be highly innovative. The way companies are thinking of innovating their products, really bringing valuable services, being competitive and improving on their offerings is the same way you should think as a non-profit. So you can really demonstrate your capacity through your funding applications. So it's not business as usual. You're doing charity work or this. No, you are driving value. You're bringing innovation to social impact. And so there's a difference. So you need to now begin to bring a business mindset into the work you do. And so with this, we'll be closing for the night. I've put the link in the chat to ensure that, because the communication going forward, I don't think I'll be going through the multiple channels, sharing it on the different places. I don't want to stretch myself too broad, you know. So it's going to be just the list, the people who are on that email list and in the WhatsApp group. Remember that the early bird will expire on Sunday. So you have between now and Sunday, and we can only take 20 people. You heard what Hussein said. I'll be talking to somebody who is in health. That person will finish his presentation. The next person is doing enterprise development. The next person is doing environment, waste to wealth. The other person is doing sustainability. So I can only take 20 in one cohort. So ensure that you collect the spaces before the run out, or then you go back to the 75,000 naira. So the last question here, and if it works, well, being a link to help nurses change their circumstances during postgraduate program. This is a bit confusing. Let me go back to the beginning.